Hey guys, welcome Muskie Road Rules podcast and Patreon. Guys, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and thanks for becoming a member of the Patreon. Guys, I really do appreciate it. Really helps out in the slow times, and hopefully you're learning something from this. I try every week to at least give you a little bit of knowledge from all the people I get to come on here. And make sure that you go to their social media or their web pages and stuff and say thanks for coming on the podcast or mention that you heard them on here. I know they like to hear that, and that's always a good thing. For you guys wanting to become a member of the Patreon, it's pretty easy. Go to patreon.com. All you got to do is search Muskie Road Rules, or really just Muskie, I think, Muskie with a Y, and become a member. It's $8 a month, and you'll get all the content that we've done since the beginning. So now over a year, you'll be able to watch and see everything that we've done on here. And what I'm doing now is this month, if you sign up in the month of February, if you've been signed up before, this goes out to everybody, current members and new members. But if you sign up for $8, you're going to be entered into the drawing for this cool-looking Supernatural 10-inch headlock. This dude right here is in the, I don't know, Duff told me it was in a, like a drum or sheephead pattern. I think it's more of a shad, but more just a baitfish, silvery scaled baitfish pattern. Again, this is the 10-inch headlock. But whoever, both all current members and new members will be put into the drawing at the end of the month, the last podcast of the month. I will draw a name out of a hat, and whoever wins will get that bait. So that'll be pretty cool. So check that out. Go to patreon.com and click become a member. I'd love to have more people on here. Now, you guys, this is a big deal here. We've got a special guest on today. You guys are going to be really, really excited. This is a guy I've known for a long, long time, and his life has been made a lot better by knowing me. Just ask him. I got Mr. Luke Ronnestrand on here from up in Minnesota. Luke, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Just surviving winter up here. And just surviving winter and wrapping up a kids hockey seasons, and just got back from the New York Muskie show with Thorne Brothers.
How was that? How was the New York show?
It was cool. Smaller show and kind of a new region. It was really fun. Talk to a lot of different people about like where they fish out there, how they fish. I mean, if you walk around, you'll see things that are a lot different than a Midwest show. I mean, every booth had, crankbaits ranging from 2 inches to, like Wishmaster size, a lot of gliders. But just real heavy into the trolling and the crankbaits. And yeah, it was fun. Like I always enjoy, going out to your Ohio show, and then just hearing from the people that fish different places. I mean, it's really strange to go to a muskie show and like never hear about Lake of the Woods, never hear about Mille Lacs, Vermilion, like the Chip. You just
it's a completely different place.
Yeah, you're hearing about Chautauqua and Champlain and like Lake Ontario, Georgian Bay, Nipissing, St. Lawrence River, all of that. So, I mean, it's really fun. I always like talking to people about where they fish, especially if it's something that I've never heard of or don't know much about.
Yeah, now out there, you're probably hearing a little more river stuff, too, because they've got some pretty major rivers that are, very ingrained into the muskie fabric out there.
Yeah, the Susquehanna and
yep.
What's the other one? I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Allegheny.
Yeah, Allegheny. That's it. That stuff all sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, I've heard stuff about that. I've never fished it. No guys that have fished it out there, and it sounds like they got a cool fishery. I'm actually hearing a lot of stuff about, I couldn't say a lot, but the St. Johns River up in Maine. I've heard some rumblings about that stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and like guys were driving out. Like we saw people from Canada, from all over New York, down in Jersey, Pennsylvania. It was cool. Met a lot of cool people. Had a great time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool. It's always neat to, get out of your area and hear about other places. I always found that interesting because, and it's what I think is funny, talking to guys, they think, well, you got to come to Minnesota, you got to come to Canada, you got to, and then they tell me about their fishery, and I'm like, well, it sounds like you guys got it pretty good out here. I mean, I understand wanting to go see other bodies of water, but fishing wise, I think what we learn is a lot of places are really good.
Yeah.
You may not have the upper end potential that you do in certain areas and stuff like that. And if you just want to learn to fish different structure, and, if you're just tired of floating down a river, but you're catching 2 fish a day, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I think that's something that people get caught up in and everything. So, no, I totally get it. Now, you spend your summers, for the most part, on Lake Vermilion.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still doing VDL or staying there?
Yep. So, yeah, the same program, running it back. I think this will be like my 14th year of Vermilion being my full-time lake.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's and how is Vermilion, it's, you've been there longer than I always laugh because now, well, me and you both have been in places long enough. We're actually the locals, instead of the new people. I always say that if you just don't leave, you become a local after a while.
At least look at you that way, right?
What?
I said at least people view you that way, right?
Exactly. So, what have you seen over the last, let's say 10 years of Vermilion? Have you seen, what's the good, the bad, the ugly? I can say like Cave Run, we have definitely suffered from some mismanagement. We are on a rebound right now, but we suffered from some severe mismanagement there for a while. And I know it's coming back now, thank God. But what have you seen at Vermilion?
Well, I would say like it not. I'm gonna try to think of how to say this. I mean, I would say like management has definitely been a factor. Like with Lake Vermilion. I mean, obviously, when it initially boomed, and then through like the early 2010s, like it was obviously an incredible place to fish. I mean, it was arguably like a top 10 destination, like on the planet for muskie fishing.
Sure.
And then, like it's a lot of our big a lot of our big Minnesota lakes went through this, where they had the initial boom created by the first phase of management. I've called it, and that's where like the lake got, I don't know, it was somewhere between 40 and 50,000 fish in like an 11, 12-year period of time. Mm-hmm. And then, I want to say that kind of initial boom, like those stockings ended around like 2000, 2004, depending on where the lakes were. And it was right about that time where they're really, from what I understand from the, talking to different people in the DNR, there wasn't like a plan of like what to do after these initial stockings had. And then obviously they created these fisheries, and I it's just a guess. It's just my opinion, but I would assume that some of them, it just freaked them out how good the fishing was. And so they didn't want to have these lakes just maybe like just in their opinions filled with muskies, and this mess up everything. So they, mess up the whole ecology of the lake. So then they just, backed off on stockings and went to more maintenance programs. Like in our case on Mille Lacs, we went through like a 4 or 5 year moratorium where they just didn't stock any muskies between like 2000 and 2004. And then after that, a lot of our bigger lakes went to like 3,000 fish every other year. Like Vermilion, the nettings were still good. So there was years that we didn't even get stocked. So you had like a 12, 15 year period of time where you didn't have a lot of fish. And then it was just like the older fish and natural reproduction are kind of what sustained the fishery. And then now, so I would say around the 20, the early, like 2020, 21, 22, some of those years, I was like 21, 22, like you saw kind of a dip in fishing out there. And now, starting maybe like 16, 17, somewhere in there, we started getting our consistent 3,000 fish a year. with some surplus. So we've had a good amount of fish stock the last 7 years, and then the last several years with Thorne Brothers getting involved with stocking and them buying fish, like we've got a lot more fish, but like the that have been stocked up our way. And like the state's had some really good years lately. So we're on the rise right now with fish numbers. The big fish have always been there, but now we're starting to see and catch a lot of those smaller fish. A lot of fish between 30 and 42, 43 inches now.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, really good sign. And like this year, statewide in Minnesota, we had more muskies stocked. Than we have in the last, I want to say, like 7 years.
Why is that?
Just I think the DNR will tell you that fish are a lot like farming, or some years you just have bumper crops, but then like with the help of the Hugh Becker Fund, a lot of people have put in their work, but Ben and Kurt at Thorne Brothers. And then we in the southern part of the state, and then just don't quote me exactly on this. This is just my cliff notes and how I remember this. In the southern and western part of the state, we can take fish from Iowa and stock those into our lakes. Mm-hmm. So the state bought a bunch of fish from Iowa.
Nice. Well, there's a lot of them in Iowa. Jesus. What little bit I've fished down there, man, those things them little bastards are everywhere.
Yes.
I guess they've done a great job.
Yeah, the bottom line for Vermilion is that we're on the, things are coming up. And if you guys that pay attention to the Muskies Inc., like the Muskies Inc. records, like they're, Vermilion's still throwing out a large amount of 50 inchers. Mm-hmm. And,
I mean, it's always going to have, you're going to have some natural reproduction and everything too, and there's always going to be bigger fish. I like to hear that you're getting some smaller fish, because that means you got stuff for the future. That was something when we fished Mille Lacs, we never did see that, right? They were all bigger, and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. They were just big.
But it's funny. It's funny to look back at that, and then just this kind of, and then after things kind of fell apart a bit, you look back at the stocking and we're like, oh yeah, there was this 5-year gap where there wasn't any muskie stock. It was like, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So, well, let's go through. I don't know if we should go through the season, but let's go through maybe. What was maybe some of the baits last year that really worked for you out on Vermilion? I'm just curious. Maybe if you could I know you got some there and stuff, and you sent me some pictures. So like this guy here, I'm going to put this guy up for us. So it's a picture of you in the summertime. Looks like a nice fish. How big is that fish? That looks like a good one.
Yeah, it was just a little over 50 inches. I caught that one on my birthday.
Oh, there you go. Birthday. So that was a July fish?
Yep, July 1st.
Nice. So that's a nice fish. What's the story behind this guy?
I mean, I just got that one on a bucktail that I made on a deep reef. I still, I mean, like I'm sure you do, and a lot of us, kind of just like traditional structure fishermen, like bucktails are what we use, like almost, I would say 75% of the time. I always have a couple bucktails going. I'm a big tinkerer. I use all different brands, and bucktails, from single bladed number 5 baits all the way up to giant, as big as the blades as you can buy. I think you can find a blade combination, or profile that the muskies will chase and bite, every day. And so yeah, we still throw a lot of bucktails. They're great to cover water with, like you start to kind of mess around and make your own. You can make some heavier for fishing deeper structure. And I guess I got the ones that I grabbed to show you. That's probably jumping the gun because of the other fish that I sent you. But I mean, I still use a lot of straight up double 10s, but this is just the Muskie Frenzy IC7. Uh-huh. That's one that's just kind of a staple in the boat. I still throw a lot of the old Muskie Mayhem supermodels. They're really good for me every year. One really cool thing about Vermilion is that they'll chase blades, and you'll catch them on blades all the way until the water is pretty cold. Like I'll catch them on blades and the water's in the upper 40s, and they love that. And then that next fish picture you're going to show is that was on one of Frenzy's new baits, their ringer 8s, and then they also have a ringer 9, and we'll have.
Show me what that ringer is.
It's just kind of a sleeve that goes on the shaft of the bucktail, and then it's got like a like just almost like a rivet where it stops, and then as the shaft shakes from the blade spinning, it makes noise. And the thing about Vermilion, a lot of old fish in there, a lot of fish. Yeah, this is our fish that we got on the ringer 8. If you just throw something that's just a little bit different, like it'll be really good. And so I knew when I saw those baits for the first time, I'm like, oh, that's going to be awesome. Like we're going to catch a bunch of fish on that. And I don't think it took a week to wear the skirt off of one.
So so I've been hearing some about the ringer ones. We'll try to get Nick on sometime to talk, but I think they're a pretty cool design and stuff, and definitely like that. Now, so your small blades, let me ask you this, because this is something I've had people ask me. Your smaller blades, do you ever use those slower? Do you ever, I know a lot of times people say, oh, small blades, you can really burn it. That's true, but do you ever use them slower and fish the smaller blades deeper, or is that mainly your bigger bladed stuff?
No, definitely. Throw a lot of small blades deep. I was going to get to that in a little bit. Like it's, like rate of retrieval is a huge thing, and what the fish like, even with stable weather, can change every day. And that's like when people ask about this is definitely a thing that you and I have like a huge advantage is that we have a couple of different, like basically different lines to play with every day with our guests that we have fishing. And you're going to have guys that at different experience levels, whether that be how much they fish or like what they know. So you're going to have some guys are just going to retrieve their baits fast naturally. And some, like maybe newer guys or older guys are going to retrieve their baits slower. So you get a chance to, see like in real time what the fish want. And that would say definitely kind of a big thing for me the last several years is like when I'm fishing deeper than 8 feet of water, like I don't want to be able to see my guest blades coming in. Like I want to see that bait kind of pop up like right at their 8. Definitely more of a, getting the bait down to where the fish are. And then with the electronics and everything that we're seeing, we can actually kind of see where those are and all what structure they're hanging out on. And they, the muskies do relate, a lot closer to the bottom, or they're relating to like some of these bigger boulders and kind of ambush points, like off the edges of structure.
Sure. No, and they'll they'll move quite a distance at a bait if they're wanting to grab it. So I just something that people have asked and stuff in the past of how to go, the bigger blades, do you retrieve them slower? And there's definitely days where guys that, I've seen it a lot. I mean, the non-fast retrieve is the one that the fish want. And that's the main deal. What other baits you got there?
I did another, so like another style of bait that fits our fishing style up there really well are swim baits.
Yep.
And I definitely I have a whole, of course I got to get tangled up here.
I've seen your boat before. This is nothing new.
I'm trying to do better on that. Front.
This is nothing new. I've seen everyone that leaves your boat has to have a tetanus shot. I know.
But I mean, we use everything from, like the small swimming dog.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
I love this. This brings me back.
Yeah, this is like small swimming dogs. This is the medium size Zilla hooker.
So that Zilla there, that's a hard-headed bait.
Yep.
How do those vary from like the all soft plastic?
They definitely have like just like the I don't know if it's just you can see like the way that things are like the way that the bait like rolls and flashes in the water just because of like the paint and the glitter. But they just definitely have like a different roll to them in the water. I would say like they kind of remind me almost more of they get like the like the old Jake grandma roll almost where you get a lot of flash on it.
Yeah.
And
That one looks like it's got a giant tail.
yeah, this one does have a big tail. This is the larger size hooker. It's probably like an 11-inch bait. Then you got the smaller ones, probably like a 8-9 inch bait, and then he makes a little one he calls a tic tac. I didn't grab one of those from the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just run a little bit different. They have a different action. These happen to just run at a really nice depth when you're casting them for me. They run in that like that 4 to 8 foot range. They're pretty easy to fish.
How on your swim baits, Luke? Kind of talk about the retrieves.
I definitely like you got to try everything. A lot of times I'll tell my guests to just kind of cast them out, wind them in, give them a pull every now and again. But when I fish it myself, like I've just got it entrenched from all the years of rubber fishing. Like I can't just cast it out and wind it in straight. Like I end up just pulling and pausing it just because I'm not thinking about it. Like a long, like a good long pause, like 2/3 of the way in on your retrieve is a great way to trigger fish. But it's just got to kind of vary your retrieve and figure out, what's working that day.
Mm-hmm.
Is the biggest thing. And just kind of finding another big trick with swim baits is just kind of finding the sweet spot for how the bait feels, where a really good thump from that tail or vibration or however you want to describe it. That's a real big trigger. Kind of like when you're reeling in a topwater, finding just that sweet spot where you get just the right noise.
Mm-hmm.
Bait sounds the best. It's like if it's fishing a swim bait, it's finding just that sweet spot where the fish feels the best. I grabbed these two. These are kind of pains me to talk about this because this has been one of my best baits both summer and fall for a long time. But we do these. We have these painted for the store. It's our Action Plastics fishing shads, and then we kind of got to rig them yourself. But we sell the Aussies jig heads and all the different hooks and components to make these. But these are the baits that my buddy John St. George told me about 15 years ago, and is where I learned the most about swim baits from, and that was with these baits. It definitely was like the trick is finding that sweet spot where they have like a really nice feel to them, a really good thump, and as soon as they got chewed up, and you kind of lost that thump, you just had to get rid of that one and start fishing with another one. Like it was the difference between a bait that would catch you a lot of fish and a bait that wasn't very productive. And those are the 15s I just showed you. We also have, a 12-inch size that's a bit more manageable. And then another one that we used last year that was really good. This is
Rover.
The Rover. These things were awesome. Again, like with no weight on them, these things run at just a perfect depth for, like for the spots I like to fish. Kind of pretty easy to fish in that 4 to 8 foot range.
And you can put a chaos weight on the front hook there, and it'll, if you want to get it down.
Yeah, and these things are just the absolute perfect profile of Vermilion Tullaby Cisco. So yeah, I throw a ton of swim baits. The biggest fish we got last year was on one of those Rovers. But yeah, they're great. They're easy to use. They're fun to fish with, and swim baits when you're running and gunning and trying to fish as many spots as you can in a day. Like swim baits, just they complement a bucktail really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So so are you using swim baits all year? I mean, is that something right out of the gate you'll be having a swim bait on?
Yep. Yeah, that's they're from day one to the end of the year. I mean, they're in the rotation.
And you're doing these. So again, and you're retrieving them anywhere from, crawling them in to burning them in and having success. That's the big thing. I think a lot of people with swim baits, they want to retrieve them super slow, but you're using them basically just to complement your bucktails and topwaters, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. What else we got there?
I just grabbed another kind of fun one. Was like I actually caught some glider fish on our old super
peeler.
So like, and it doesn't have to be a super peeler. It can be any glider. I just have a lot of these left over from the old Muskie Buster days, so that's what I use. But yeah, we caught a bunch of glider fish last year.
Why do you think that is? Because Minnesota gliders were kind of something we never used for a long time. Why do you think, last year you were able to get fish on them? Because you actually threw it, or what?
Yeah, that probably has way more to do with it. Honestly. But yeah, it was just something that made the rotation. And they weren't, I wasn't using them all year long. I definitely used them a lot in the first week of the season and September and early October.
Why was that? Why did you think that later? I know early in the season, fish that are coming off spawn. I've actually caught fish on gliders then. Why did you switch back to them and try them some there later in the year?
Because I'm running my boat a little bit slower and you can actually like fish them properly. I think.
Yeah.
Like you're not, for me up in September and September and October in Vermilion, we're fishing still some shallow water, a lot of weeds. And you kind of know where the fish are going to come from. It's just, you're fishing more like spot on the spot type of things instead of just like a big area, big giant reef. You definitely kind of know where the fish are coming from. Our fish are actually I catch way more fish deep. Like when I'm saying deeper, like the off the edges of the reefs and on deeper spines, I catch more fish in the summer on those kind of spots than I do in the fall. Like I would say our September and our October fish that we catch casting are shallower than the fish that I'm catching in the summer.
Okay. Well, that's, do you think of those fish in the summer are getting pushed off, or do you think it's just fish that live there that you just are targeting?
I think that like what's one thing that's changed on Vermilion on the east side of the lake is that we don't have like the big giant yellow perch populations out there like we used to. The lake got spiny water fleas. Probably like they really started to show up in like 2015 or so. And I don't know if just all those spiny water fleas have pulled those perch like offshore, but you just don't see them on the east end on structure. So a lot of times it seems like you're catching a lot more fish that are relating to Cisco's, and like the muskies they hang out a lot deeper on the structure, and it's like they go out and they feed and they don't necessarily go right to the tops of structure all the time. They still do. Like we still get a fair amount of them shallow in the summertime, obviously, but just we're catching them deeper than we are shallower. And it could be pressure too. I mean, it's all part of the the big picture, but you got to just go out and part of the reason why I slow my boat down in the fall is because in the summertime, like I have to fish a whole reef, the entire thing to figure out where the fish are coming off of.
Yeah. So you're moving pretty fast. So what do you say if somebody says, what's fast? What would you say your boat's moving at?
Like 1.5 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. So you're cooking.
Yeah. Obviously if we found fish, when we go back on those fish, like you're slowing down and being a lot more deliberate once you know where they are. But when you're covering water, it's 1.3 to, sometimes 1.7. So
how many spots in a day on average do you think when you're trying to cover water, how many spots in a day do you think you're actually fishing?
My goal is 30 in a day. I don't know how close to that we get every day. Kind of depends. If you really got it locked down, and if you really got the fish kind of locked down of a few areas, you're probably not going to fish quite that many. But yeah, I'd say I probably get close every day.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
It's
I'd be exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely work. I mean,
Yeah, that's a lot of spots. That's a lot of water to cover.
yeah. Oh,
What
it's burn them.
what about top waters? I know you've always been a big top water guy. What's some stuff there you got?
No, I did grab. We, I mean, I definitely force feed these things to fish. But I still throw a lot of flat tails. That's just something to throw out of the back of the boat, like the good old Joel Wick flap tail is a really good one for me every year. Um, and then here's a Worth flap tail. These are really good. These are the two that I use the most of. But like you can get like the Bomb Squad. I know they make a pretty readily available flap. But it always, like, we caught fish on flaps last year just because I threw them a lot. But it was definitely not. Wasn't my greatest topwater year.
Yeah. What so with the flap tails, I mean, you're the one that I know that really got that kind of going up there, in my opinion, or
Well,
uh,
I was the first one that probably talked about using them. They were like Joel and Joel Wick and his crew is the one that actually got him going up on Vermilion, and then like he gave them to a couple of his buddies, like Benson had them.
mhm.
But
But how do they, like explain kind of a good, to you the perfect flap tail retrieve, because I think it's something that people get confused on.
I mean, it's definitely. I would say it's definitely a little faster than I think what maybe like some older anglers think about. Although you can retrieve them really slow. I mean, it's definitely a bait that's like a slow to medium retrieve. But it's just a bait. I think it's just a slow to medium moving topwater. That the big attraction to the bait is that it doesn't. The bait never does the same thing. The same thing in a like a 4 foot segment of your retrieve. I mean, think of it like a crankbait that walks, or it's just like 1 minute the thing is the blade is hitting the back of the bait and making a metallic sound, and then the next minute it's just catching water.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just that erratic nature that makes them really good. Like up on Vermilion, it just seems like over the years, if you look at the baits that have been really, really good, that aren't a bucktail, or they're baits that are move really erratically, like the headlocks, like flap tails, things that just don't do the same thing twice,
Mm-hmm.
would be the best way to describe it. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with having successful flap tails is just fishing with them, I think. But they definitely don't work everywhere. Like there seems to be lakes that they work really well on, and seems to be lakes that they don't. It seems that I do think they're really effective on older, bigger fish for whatever reason. So there's just some places that I fished, like stock fisheries. Like when the lakes were younger, I didn't seem to catch as many fish with them, and now that they're older, fish have been caught quite a few times. It seems like they work well there now. They just work really well on pressured fish.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does have that unique sound and that erratic. They're a very erratic sound. It's definitely not one of those that you're going to get the same ting ting out of
Mm-hmm.
every cast. If you would, let's talk a little bit here when we finish up about figure eight stuff, because we both fish on bodies of water where there is a lot of figure eight fish. Fish get caught on the 8. We play with a lot of figure eight fish every year. I drew this diagram. Do you like my diagram?
Yeah, I like it.
Are you impressed? It
Yeah,
looks like boobs. So it's a wonderful
I'm not gonna be able to unsee that now, Greg.
just boobs. I thought that was funny. But well, you do tell me that this is not a Patreon; it's an OnlyFans. So you do call this my OnlyFans. I could not see. Oh my God, could you imagine me on an OnlyFans?
I,
Oh, people that are into like
no, I don't.
dad bods with moles.
I'm
I think that
I don't need to even get a visual on that. That's one of my biggest problems in life is that I can get a visual on something really fast in my imagination, and I don't need to see any of that.
I mean, look, I mean, you're like halfway tan. Have you been going to the tanning bed? Because
I think it's just left over from the fishing season, and
man, I'm like pale. I look like really bad, Greek yogurt that's been left on a heater.
yeah,
You know,
was out in South Dakota pheasant hunting a few weeks ago, and we had beautiful weather out there, so maybe that's how I got lucky. Maybe it's windbird. I don't know.
yeah, there you go. Well, I've got nothing, so I know all about that. But let's look at this figure eight thing here. Kind of describe what you would say would be a really good figure eight for somebody that's just getting into musky fishing. On my thing here, the main thing, I've got a couple little things written down there, but how would you describe what a good figure eight would be?
No, I was just the biggest thing I would say is how you bring the fish into the figure eight, and kind of that, like the old school terminology, maybe like, calling it like the L turn, before you start your actual figure of eight.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I always try to tell people, like, if you're fishing off the left side of the boat and you're a right-handed angler, reeling with your right hand, like I always tell people to bring the lure in off their left foot and then go left to right. But when you're bringing your bait in and when you're about 10 feet away from the boat, it's almost like to just kind of open your figure eight up and kind of point your rod tip a little bit to the left. And to just make that almost like just like a big, huge, I don't know, like almost like a big J or a big L, and just really make that first turn really easy for that fish to come into that figure eight, and then kind of go into that straightaway of your figure eight before you start the figure eight, on the right side. And a lot of times too, after that is in that same motion is kind of driving putting your rod tip into the water, and kind of driving that bait down into that L turn. So I always thought like it kind of would take if you're driving that bait down and that fish is watching that bait go down like under the boat, it's going to take their sight line away from things that are happening like above the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Like small, like if you get excited, you make a sudden, like a sudden movement. But just to make that whole part of your figure eight, just big and inviting for that fish to go into, nice and smooth, maybe a little bit of acceleration into that first turn. But that would be like my biggest, like my biggest thing that, the biggest bit of advice I can give. And, like after that, it's just getting, just making your figure eight just nice and big and consistent. And, then after that is learning to read fish. But the other biggest thing too, for most people is just once you get something down that looks good, just to do it the same way every time, and to just be consistent and have it be like more muscle memory than like having to think about it.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that. I agree with you that I think a lot of figure eights are screwed up at the beginning.
Yeah.
They don't make that turn wide. And that's the first time, especially with bucktails or straight retrieve lures. Swim baits a lot too, I'm sure. It's the first time that fish sees that bait do anything different.
Yep.
And if you cut those turns really narrow, it's you can actually see that fish lose sight of it and kind of look like, what the hell am I doing up here? And if they lose sight of it, I mean, if it's a really pumped up fish, you might get another shot, but most fish are just kind of done with it once they lose sight of it in that initial run in there. So I agree. The biggest part for me is the actual going into the eight, making it big. And I think the other thing too is on those corners, when you do those corners, a big thing for me is to actually kind of slow it just a titch before you pop it out of that corner. Almost feed it to them in that curve. And that to me is a big thing.
Yep.
Before you rush it out of there, the whole cat and mouse game of trying to take it away from him, then slow it a little bit on the corner. And especially fish that are prone to figure eights, you seem to get a lot of strikes in those corners.
Yeah. And I mean, it's another thing too, learning, it comes with time, but just learning to read the fish. If you can see it coming a ways out, if sometimes going into that figure eight, like you want to be careful. Like sometimes speed is a big trigger, but sometimes you can just take the fish, the bait right away from the fish, rip it away from it, and it'll lose interest. It'll never kind of catch up and get up to speed or get on the same page with you with the figure eight. Like learning to read the fish is such a huge part of that. But you never get to that point unless you're like good at the entrance of the figure eight and just being consistent when you do it. Like figure eights is so fun. I'm glad you're talking about it because it's definitely one thing that every muskie angler that gets in my boat, no matter what their experience level, like can be better at it. Like even us, we can get better at our figure eights every year, and it's such an important part of catching muskies. And that's when I see the most. I see the most fish. Like I mean, our fish love figure eights up by us, and we lose so many fish in figure eights and have so many missed opportunities, and it's part of it. It's fun, and but yeah, it's something that definitely needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, and it's nobody's fault, right? I mean, it's a learning process, and hell, I screw them up every year, and
me too.
I mean, it's just part of the game. It's part of what makes it exciting is getting that fish to eat on the eight. And with the longer rods and stuff now, that's made a huge difference in everybody's figure eight performance and being able to actually turn that fish and move that fish around and make it do what it wants. But yeah, working on figure eights is something that I think everybody can do and just try to get something consistent, wide. I said, just as long as you can make really wide turns and do that little slow in the corners, we'll get fish to eat. It's just, whether they're going to or not. And there's always that initial setup of don't get freaked out, don't do the shit your pants when you first see the thing. And that'll help you out. But well, good deal, man. Well, hey, we have went long enough. We have rambled longer than anyone wants to hear from us. And I do appreciate you coming on here. And guys, you can always check out Luke at how can somebody get a hold of you?
I mean, honestly, the best for guiding, the best place to get a hold of me is just my phone number. You can go to the Vermilion Dam website, go to the preferred guides page. You'll find me there. Otherwise, like a lot of the I guess content-y type stuff that I do is all through Thorn Brothers. You can kind of check out our YouTube stuff that we're doing there, different videos and that, and see me at a sports show, I guess. Got a few more of those. We'll be at the Minnesota Muskie Show, Milwaukee Muskie Show coming up, and our Thorn Brothers Spring Sale is always awesome event. So
yeah, we got Milwaukee Show coming up next week. Where else, people, can you take your Valentine to and walk around and drink beer and eat beef jerky? Every woman loves that. So
Kurt and I were joking around. I mean, because of the Milwaukee Muskie Show, I think in the last 20 years, I think I've spent like 2 or 3 Valentines with my Valentine's Day. Just set up another date.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's always Valentine's Day weekend. Has been forever. And yeah, it's funny. But guys, also remember, Luke was saying it. You can always go to Thorn Bros. There's plenty of stuff to buy right now. There's all kinds of new products. They've got a ton of stuff. Heard there's in the works. They're going to have a new bait from Muskie Innovations that might be pretty cool. Maybe available this summer. Luke was telling me. He said it was a top secret, like going to the back cave. He just gave me little hints.
I know that's gonna be a fun one. It's really good. So yeah. I sent you a picture of that one that we caught on that.
Yeah. Let me see this picture right here, and of course, beautiful fall fish, all nice and white and everything. But no, it'll be cool to
I'd say a cool thing about that particular fish is that's a November fish that I caught out of a basin that sees a lot of fishing pressure, and I hadn't caught a big fish out of that basin in a long time, and that one crushed the bait on the uprip by the boat. It was pretty sweet.
Nice. Well,
so
good.
It works. It passed the test as far as being something different and working on a heavily pressured fish, and we're excited. We think this one's going to be a big deal. So
cool. I'm ready for it. So good deal. So check out thornbros.com. Go to their website and you can see all the stuff that they got there and all their social media stuff and pick up stuff there. Also, guys, I've been using it for a couple years now. It's some of the Gill fishing products. If you want to stay dry, I've been using the rain suits. They work good until you blow the crotch out of them getting out of the boat, and then you have a wet crotch.
You're such a great salesman.
I am, but it's just because. Well, you ought to see me. I now have a step in the front of my boat. Thank God to Bill Swartz. My crotch got hung on the keel of the Tarova, and it was it was a big rip. At one time I thought I thought I was sterile, and so most people were like applauding. I heard it in my head, a lot of chanting, and but
I'd love to make fun of your athleticism getting in and out of your boat, but last fall we fished through some really cold weather and just had a bunch of ice and everything in the boat, and I just kind of like bent down to just zoom in on one of my graphs, and somehow my feet went out from under me, and I slid like right out the back of my boat.
You fell in the lake?
Pretty much my power pole saved me. And I wound up like basically about halfway in the lake, and I was barely able to like kind of catch my back on the pole. And I was like, I'll be damn, like that was I hadn't done anything like that in a long time.
Who are you fishing with?
I was with Mike Riggs.
Oh, I can't wait to talk to him about that.
I went right out. It was like right away in the morning too. It was freezing cold. I had to fish the rest of the day like halfway wet.
Oh God, I'd have made him take me in and
back.
Oh God. Oh, I can't wait to talk to him about that. That'll make me laugh.
Yep.
I'm sure he has some good. He'll have a good story about that. But check him out, guys. Gill's Fishing Products. I'm too fat to wear Sims. I don't. I can't. I don't. Those pants, man. I wore them one time. I'm like, no. This is. I don't. I don't eat. I don't drink kombucha or eat granola, so I can't wear the Sim stuff.
They fit me just fine, so I don't know what.
This body, there's areas I don't even know if I'm even a size.
Is it
anymore?
Say that your significant other's got to get you on a workout program?
I am this. There are sizes that I don't even think I fit. I have to get into the German size plan because this is bad. This is bad, and I think I could do an OnlyFans of me just trying on pants. I think that would be nice. Just gross stuff hanging out and having to tie stuff down and that would be awful. Think of that, Luke. Just a nice visual in your head.
I already did.
Me, a nice bubble bath, trying on pants. Anyway, all right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure. I'll see you at Milwaukee. Hang on here real quick for me. And then, guys, if you want to sign up for the drawing, you just have to subscribe. That's it. If you're already subscribed, you're in. So think about that, guys, on the Patreon. Luke, hang on.